Guys, it's finally here, the Gen 3 Razor from Vortex. Yes, I am pumped beyond belief for this scope. You know, when I started shooting, whatever it was, 5 years ago, the cool kids all shot the Gen 2 Razor, and it was the scope to get. And for me personally, I really love my rifles looking absolutely sexy. So I wanted to get one just for the sake of the color. Turns out it's a really badass optic too. Now, having said that, it is 7 years old at this point in time, so it's about time we got a refresh. Now, if you have been living under a rock or you don't have social media, Vortex kind of strategically gave a handful of their shooters this new optic to shoot the recent Armageddon Gear Cup. And that was sort of their strategy, to have a little bit of information leaking out, get the rumor mill going. But today, obviously, it is official. So I'm going to run through the specs of the scope in a little bit. Spoiler alert, my scope didn't show up in time for this video. Unfortunately, I live on the, I almost said the ass end of Africa. I live in South Africa, and it does take a little bit longer with permits and stuff to get stuff here. Now, the good news is I'm going to Vegas in less than 2 weeks. We'll be getting hands-on with the scope, and by the time I get back, my optics will be here and we're going to be able to hit the range, you know, trigger cam footage and everything. So if you're watching this because you're a new, you know, sort of you haven't stumbled across our videos, please make sure you're subscribed down below and you will be able to see that. You know, YouTube also don't really push out our videos to all of our subscribers, so make sure you guys have that little notification bell turned on so you get notified when we upload. And as always, while we're doing a little bit of housekeeping stuff, you know, hit the like button, comment for the algorithm, and that is vitally important for us to keep growing this channel. Now, having said that, I've recently been nominated for Male Influencer of the Year. Can you believe that? So I'd really appreciate it if you guys clicked on the link. I'm gonna have a comment pinned below this video and vote for me so we can go drive tanks in the US, and you can vote daily. So pretty please, let's absolutely crush the voting. We're up against some massive channels, so we're gonna need to pull a monumental effort here. Good news is I have heard from the Gundies, we are doing relatively well, so keep on doing that. I really appreciate that, guys, so much. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump on into the specs of the new Gen 3 Razor. Now, right off the bat, we will notice the magnification has changed. Sort of our Gen 2 Razor, let me grab one over here. This is a controlled environment. This is a bunker, so we are allowed to handle firearms in here. This is the Gen 2 Razor. It is a 4.5 to 27 magnification range by 56, and that's the size of the objective lens on here. Now, that is the last rendition of that optic with the EBR-7C reticle. Now, the new Razor Gen 3 is a 6 to 36 magnification by 56 objective lens. So what's really cool about that, we get a little bit more sort of on the high end of the magnification range, which is really cool for identifying targets out really far. I find personally that when I'm shooting sort of precision rifle, even long range matches, I very seldomly crank my optic up to the max magnification. I generally shoot around about the 18 mark. However, where I do use the maximum magnification available is when the conditions allow on 100 meters zero, you know, to get that pinpoint zero, the maximum magnification really helps a lot for that. So that is a definite plus for me to get even closer to the target and to see those bullet holes. Perhaps even if you're doing low development or shooting ladders at like 300 meters, you should be able to see your little bullet holes with the 36 magnification. So pumped on that. Now, this optic is obviously for the long-range shooter, the military marksman, and it's going to be first focal plane as its predecessor. That basically means that irrespective of where you are in that magnification range, whether you're on 6, okay, so on the low end, or on 18 or on 36, the subtensions in the reticle, which we'll discuss next, are going to remain the same. On the second focal plane, sort of the other versions of optics you get, Depending where you are in that magnification range, your values in the reticle will actually change. And I've seen so many people like struggle with their equipment because they don't understand that. So that's very important. First focal plane is what we in the sort of tactical shooting, long range shooting really prefer. It allows you to quickly engage targets, shoot off holdovers, crank on your magnification to find targets easier and re-engage them without having to worry to be on the specific magnification needed in order for your reticle values to be true. Now, speaking of reticle, we get a brand new EBR 7D reticle. Now, I'm hoping by the time that I edit this video that I'll be able to give you guys an overlay here. Otherwise, I'm just doing random gestures with my hand. But I'm super pumped. At this point in time, I don't know what that reticle looks like, but you know, having sort of seen the EBR reticle evolve through its evolutions, you know, initially we were at the normal EBR reticle that had the little cross, then we went to the 2B, which had the floating dot for the first time, or that was the open space. Hell, there's been many versions of this reticle, but every time it does get more and more refined and it gets cleaner and easier to use. And once you figure out how to shoot this reticle, man, it's so much easier, especially when we're hunting and you're sort of shooting holdovers. It just works, and it makes it easier to sort of shoot intuitively, if that makes sense. And if you are used to shooting off reticles, and that's what I really like using sort of 22 rimfire matches for, is concentrating to shoot the entire match off my reticle, because basically it's a built-in ruler in your optic, and it's the same thing as dialing your turrets. Those numbers line up with the numbers that you're dialing on your turrets, so you can save a massive amount of time if you learn how to shoot from your reticle. Now, the LTEC turret system also gets an upgrade, and what seems really cool here, again, unfortunately, I haven't been hands-on, but I mean, I'm going off all the marketing material we've got here. Basically, you've got one set screw. It's going to make it so much easier, even easier, let me put it that way, because out of all the optics that I do own and the different sort of turret systems and zeroing systems and zero stops that Vortex has, the one on the Razor Gen 2 is really easy. Even on the AMG, you know, you're not limited to click values in terms of refining that zero. And apparently with the new LTEC Plus system, that's going to be even easier. With one set screw, and you're going to be off to the races to get that super precise zero. That is something I'm really excited to get hands on and experience how that works. Again, make sure you're subscribed, because I'm going to be doing a complete walkthrough. I'm going to be doing a complete badass video when we actually get hands-on with this optics, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Now let's jump into some of the nitty-gritty things. One thing I'm super pumped about is that they kept the color. Now, when Vortex looped a couple of us in to say, you know, we're coming out with this optic, I was like, please keep the color the same, because the color just looks so awesome. You know, it really makes the rifle stand out, and I just love how that color looks when the sun shines on it. And if you own a Razor or you've seen one at the range, you can't argue with that. The color is sick, although I guess different strokes for different folks. Some people like pink fur in their car seats. I'm not one of those people. I think that looks super cool. Now, clicks wise, let's stick to MRAD, for example. Actually, for the sake of the exercise, I'm going to have the little graph here. So the previous generation had 33 MOA, so 33. Sometimes the captions on YouTube and my Afrikaans accent really doesn't do well. So we had 33 mils of adjustments elevation wise and 14 mil for windage, okay? On the new Gen 3, it's going to be 36.1 for elevation, 15.5 for windage adjustments. If you shoot MOA, you had 113.5 elevation and 48 on the previous generation. On the new generation, you have 120 and 52.5. Nailed it on the very first try. Woo! Oh crap, I actually needed these. There's more stats to run through. So something I was a little bit bummed off the get-go is the weight. You know, it's not a big difference. The previous generation was 48.5 ounces. The new one is 45.1 ounces. Now, it's still not a light optic. But for us, the more weight, the better, because we want our rifles to be rock steady. The more weight you have on your rifle, and you would have actually seen people adding weights on their rifle for sort of precision rifle shooting. The heavier a rifle, the less it's going to recoil, the easier it is to shoot a follow-up shot, the steadier it is. It's easier to hold it steady on barricades and stuff like that. So yes, there is a marginal weight difference. This optic is also slightly longer. Now the next one's a big one. The parallax setting on the old optic went to 32 yards. On the new one, it's 10 yards. Now that's really cool if you are like me and you have a Vortex Razor 4.5 to 27 on your rimfire, you will have that ability to now engage targets that are a little bit closer and actually focus on them, which is super, super cool. But at 10 yards, pretty freaking close. Tube size, in other words, the main piece is 34 millimeters. So if you already have 34 millimeter rings lying around, then you are good to go on that. As we said, the Altec system gets a bump. It is now the Altec Plus or iPhone 4S. It's one of those. Okay, so it's the same system, slightly refined, which I'm pumped for because the previous system was really badass. Eye relief is slightly worse. The previous generation one had 3.7 inches of eye relief. This one is 3.5. However, if you set up your rifle correctly, that's not going to be a problem. Obviously, a scope of this level is going to be illuminated, and what's really cool about the Razors, they actually have a locking illumination turret that you don't accidentally turn that. Personally, for me, I've never even bothered putting a battery in one of these guys because I don't shoot at night with these. These are my competition guns and don't need the battery. Now, speaking of the battery, that is one of the things that are in the box. What's also really cool, lately Vortex have been shipping their optics with throw levers. That is again the case with the new Gen 3. You've got a throw lever, you've got a lens cloth, you've got a 3-inch sunshade, you've got a little scope tool, you've got a throw lever tool in there, and then the CR2032 battery. Guys, I'm pumped about this new optic. It's such a pity that we didn't have it in time to actually show you hands-on. I would have loved to. Unfortunately, you know, COVID and all of those things, I couldn't travel in time and we had permit issues to get it here. But again, as soon as it gets here, I'm going to do a complete deep dive and you will see them on my rifles. In fact, I've got more than one coming in to sort of kit out my rifles. Anyway, in other news, make sure you do go vote for us for Influencer of the Year. Super cool. It would be so cool to win that. Just being nominated is a phenomenal honor if I sort of look at the other channels that are in there. Guys, also make sure you follow me down on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, then you can head over to our Facebook page. All of those things are linked down below. And then also I'm going to have a coupon here. This is your last chance to sort of get a discounted rate on my reloading school, complete online training for, you know, how to reload for precision rifle, for long range shooting. Then I've also got a positional shooting school. Everything's online. You can watch it at your own time, consume the information. And we're going to have a sale on that. And this is the last chance to get this price before we add to the curriculum. The good news is if you pick it up now, you will also get access to all the new content that we'll be adding to that very, very shortly. Guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed at this timing, you know, I don't know what you're doing. You're dropping the ball. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. Thanks again to Modular Driven Technologies for making today's video possible. Chances are, if you're watching this, you're a long range shooter, you're a precision rifle shooter. So if you're looking for your next chassis system, look no further than mdttac.com. Guys, I'll see you in the next video. Much love, be kind to one another, and yeah, just do that. Be the best person you can be. Bye. It's finally here. Vortex have just announced the Gen 3 Razor. Woo! I almost want to say, can I get an amen, brother? I'm pumped. Now, the good news is, I will not be getting one, I will be getting two. That sounds braggy. The Gen 3 or the... I'm super pumped. You should be super pumped too. You probably clicked on this video because you're super pumped. Drinking game, every time I say super pumped, you gotta take a shot.